if you follow what gives you energy, it's often the things you love. And the things you love are often the things you're really good at. And you never realise it because...
We sit down with Katharine Newby-Grant, powerhouse in the beauty industry and currently VP of Marketing and Data at Estée Lauder Companies.
Leapt into P&G, thought that I'd be there a few years and learn everything I needed to know. Everything about marketing, everything about business, everything about leadership. And 23 years later, I'm still learning.
She champions clarity, compassion, and a balance between tough business standards and genuine human kindness.
Them talking about how good your product is way more powerful than you talking about yourself. It's more authentic, it's more believable.
We hear about her lifelong learning orientation, from leveraging AI responsibly to rediscovering cold water therapy and even relearning hockey.
Humans and human creativity, there's no way you can let AI take that away or replace that. We will never use AI to replace humans. We will always want to show our beauty products on the human.
This is a must listen for anyone interested in purpose-driven businesses, transformational leadership, and staying energized in a changing world. So today's episode is of course brought to you by two fantastic organisations. The first, Studio Space, a leading on-demand marketing agency platform. This enables marketers to browse and brief agencies, receive proposals and start work all in one place. It's literally like having your own agency network at your fingertips, without the hassle, as they take care of everything from contracting, invoicing, procurement to legal. So check out Studio Space today. Our other sponsor, of course, is the Marketing Skills Trust, a charity whose mission is to make the marketing industry a better place, providing grants to help create a more equitable industry and help us to level up. The Marketing Skills Trust has been instrumental in championing a more inclusive, diverse and open marketing industry. You can find out more by going to their website. Okay, let's get on with the show.
Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. Before we kick off today with an amazing stellar guest, I just have to wish my co-host a very happy birthday.
Why, thank you, Richie.
You're very kind. Now, I did sort of promise that I would sing, but I'm going to save all of us that and dive right back in to wonderful Katharine here today. Katharine, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm really intrigued. I mean, clearly you've jumped into a new role at the Estée Lauder company, and I've certainly been reading the biography of Estée. And I wonder perhaps if you can maybe give us a little few anecdotes of the history and the vision behind the organization which you're a part of now.
Oh, what a pleasure. Firstly, happy birthday, Mark. I feel already honoured to be here, but given it's your birthday, I feel an extra honour. So thank you.
Wouldn't be anywhere else.
Thank you, Richie and Mark, for inviting me. So really privileged to be here. And hello to everyone, wherever you're listening all over the world. Delighted and really privileged to talk about Estée. I think Estée Lauder is an icon. I really think she was ahead of her time. So she was born back in 1908, and actually in around the 1940s, she always worked hard. She came from a hardworking family, and her uncle actually was a chemist. And she decided that she really wanted to, create cream for the women in the stores. And so almost in her bathroom, she was there with her uncle creating beauty products and trying them out. So again, she was one of these, I will create, I will try them. And she was a big believer in actually going out and putting the cream on the women's hands. And when they really felt how good it was, they would fall in love with it. But she designed her own creams. I think in the 1940s, 1950s, she designed her own fragrance, but she was designing really in her kitchen, in her bathroom with her uncle. She kept going back to him and saying, actually, the women have said they'd like it with, this maybe to smell a bit different or to feel a bit different. And she would iterate on the products till she would find the perfect products that all of the women and men absolutely loved. And she would be out there really putting the products actually on the women, and felt that you had to be out there. You had to deliver the service with the product. And it was, she was serving her women, as she would call it. And I think, fast forward to today, and it's all about serving consumers, putting them at the heart of everything you do. She was also a woman in business, and actually it was in partnership with her husband. He supported her, but back then you think, how tough was it for a woman in business to lead the business, to start the company, to really go for it? So she's a true inspiration, a true icon, a really hard-working woman, and really selfless. She also would really always ensure that when she was able to create profits from the company, she would put them straight back into making better products, because she felt that her women, the consumers, deserved it. But also she would put funds back into the community. And her philosophy was always about, absolutely, we are here to serve and to run a business, and that's important for the staff that we will ultimately have. But business should always be done in a way that really, really serves the communities around you. And again, it's a reason I leapt into Estée Lauder companies. I think the purpose is incredible. I think she's incredible. And she really is an inspiration, actually, still today.
She really is. I've seen I read her biography, and everything you've said has held so true for me. And it just was one of those books that I couldn't put down.
Yes.
And what was really iconic about it was the relentless persistence that she had through that. The ups and downs, trials, tribulations just didn't faze her.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful how that was really well captured in the book.
That just unwavering positivity and just that relentlessness to never ever give up. Exactly. And her belief was really that you can dream of success, but actually if you really want to get success, you work for it. So she was always about dream big, but you really, really work hard for your success. No one ever gifted it to you. It wasn't through luck. It was really through hard work and persistence, which is just incredible.
I love that. It's always good to get the historical underpinnings of any organisation. It sounds like she was decades ahead of her time. When you were talking, it reminded me a lot of Mars, where I grew up, the company, obviously,
yes.
not the planet. And they, back in the day, the founding Mars family went bankrupt 6 times and persevered through, and amazing story since. But culturally, it sounds quite similar. But of course, Mars, P&G and Unilever were the vying to be, let's say, the standout marketing training academy, if you like. And obviously you did more than 2 decades at P&G. So I don't want to leave that behind, because there'll be loads to say about that time.
Yes.
Give a flavour of what P&G was like, and maybe that was different to Estée, but your time at P&G.
Oh, absolutely. And I was thinking about it because I was inspired to take that leap into Estée Lauder companies, and so glad I did. I really feel like I've come home. But I did 20 years or so at P&G. It was the first company I went to post-university. I did do an internship at L'Oreal, actually out of interest. I got to launch L'Oreal Kids. I worked for an amazing guy, and nearly went to join. They offered me a job. And at that time, ironically, I didn't want to narrow myself in the beauty business. I felt that I wanted to go to a broader company. P&G was absolutely the very best company for marketing, for brand building, and also for business. And it also developed leaders, and that really, really appealed for me. So leapt into P&G, thought very naively and very arrogantly that I'd be there a few years and learn everything I needed to know. Everything about marketing, everything about business, everything about leadership. And 23 years later, I'm still learning. And every few years, I would think about what's the next challenge. And every time P&G would move me on, because they're a really big believer in people. They are an incredible company, and they really believe in people and developing people. It's a philosophy that runs through the company. So I got moved around countries. I got moved around roles. I had the opportunity to do everything from marketing to sales to much more capability building roles, like thinking about running media operations and planning. So real deep expertise, as well as really broad general management roles, and really culminated in the dream role of running the beauty business in the UK for P&G, and also running the marketing organisation as the CMO. It really was a dream role. And it was really hard to make the leap, actually, to after that many years, that many connections in such an incredible company. It really was hard to let go, but it was a great, both professional, I think, and personal choice. I think the really next obvious growth with P&G would have come from maybe going to the mothership in Cincinnati, And actually the family, I have teenage children, and they did not want to leave the village, let alone the country or the continent. So it just became really clear. Before, I was always moving around for work with little children, and they're very easy to move. When they are teenagers with personalities of their own and really important school exams, my husband and I definitely didn't want to disrupt them. So as I thought about next professional growth opportunity, next adventure, really Estée Lauder Companies was just a wonderful and gorgeous leap. But I absolutely have nothing but, really great words to talk about P&G. It really is an amazing place.
Yeah, and there's this lovely expression, isn't there? Don't be sad it's over, be glad it happened. I think that's probably true. But then you took the plunge.
I did.
And we'll come on to what you're up to now. But on the topic of plunging, you did say in the green room a little bit about, you're up there with the cold water treatment, as am I.
Huge fan.
And so just tell us a little bit about that.
So, well, I actually, so it starts from a difficult place and it ends in a really great place. And again, I'm a really big believer. You'll soon learn positivity is definitely one of my strengths. So in any disaster, I always look for the positive outcomes. So unfortunately, my husband and I got really bad COVID in December 2020. So before vaccines. And it really was not good, actually, for both of us. And we'd been very fit. We didn't necessarily fit the prototype of the people that really were struck down, but it really attacked both of our bodies. I think it might have attacked our nervous system in some way. And afterwards, we really struggled to recover. So we had all sorts of symptoms from really big fatigue. Fatigue was a big one. Brain fog, anxiety, really hard to breathe, difficult to manage energy levels. So that's quite debilitating. We both went back to work. We were still living, but we definitely were not ourselves. So I became slightly obsessed with research, and I have to give a shout out to a gorgeous lady called Lisa Bocott, who is a dear friend. We met actually at P&G, and she'd actually quit her job to research for her son who had long COVID. And she had been in touch with people in Israel, people in the US, and really had started to understand the things that could help. And cold water therapy is one of them because it can reactivate and really help the vagus nerve. So my husband and I had heard about this, and we are stood about to go on holiday in W.H. Smith in an airport, and we're looking at the bookshelf, and we see on the bookshelf Wim Hof method. And Wim Hof, a huge advocate of the cold water. So my husband read the book, became a huge advocate, thought, I'm going to give this a go. He did. It really transformed his life. And so through that, he then persuaded me to give it a go. And if there's one thing I don't love, it's the cold. I have done the coldest winter adventure race in the world, which is a whole other story. But I did it because I hate the cold. And so the thought of plunging into cold water is rather ridiculous for me. But I did. And it truly, truly changed my life. That and hyperbaric oxygen chamber, which also changed my life. And really, all of the symptoms disappeared. I'm fitter than ever, head's clearer than ever, the anxiety's gone. It was truly life-changing. And whilst I don't leap into a hyperbaric oxygen chamber on a daily basis, I do still have cold showers, and I do still ice bath. Huge believer in both of them. So, yeah, I'd be really interested in how it's helped you and your story. But
guys, I've just got to say, by the way, for everyone listening in here, there are two kindred spirits going on, because Mark one day sent me in the post the Wim Hof book, and he was trying to convert me into this. And actually, Mark, you've been on a Wim Hof retreat.
I went on the winter expedition. Walked up Shineskja like a mountain in a pair of shorts and didn't even feel cold. There's something otherworldly about the whole thing. But I'm just going to seize the moment, and we're going to conspire, Katharine and I, to get your commitment, Richie, to give a go. I know how much you hate the cold.
Well, this is it. Exactly that.
You're going to make this commitment.
All right, guys. Well, look, if you guys can do it, maybe I'll give it a shot.
You
right?
Can't have
that's the
hated
deal.
the cold more than me, so I think you can do it.
Fine.
And we want video evidence.
Okay, this is it. I'll make the commitment on the show right now. I'll do it. A cold water tub expedition.
I cannot wait to see this. I know it's not for everybody, but I do think people should give it a go.
You guys
that can.
Well, you totally put me on the spot here. So anyway, but yes, okay. Well, give it a go, and then if I do it, I'm going to pass it on and get someone else to do it as well. So there we are,
it's
right?
The new ice challenge.
Well, who knows, right? It could be a movement created right here on the show. Katharine, I want to turn back to where you've been, and it seems like beauty's in your blood. I mean, clearly, L'Oreal. You then ended up in P&G in that sort of a role, and now, of course, with Estée now as well.
I know, and it's really interesting how you it's easy when you've lived through things to then post-rationalize them. And sometimes it's easy because I had always thought, was I meant to be in marketing and was I meant to be in beauty? Because I started out, my favourite subjects at school, maths, chemistry, economics, and went off to university and studied economics. My brother, 5.5 years older than me, he studied economics, went into banking. And I think in my head, I thought, I need to be a banker, a management consultant. That was definitely what all of my other fellow economists were off to do. It did not feel right. And I could feel the energy when I was going to try and apply for internships at the banks and at the consultants. And I spotted L'Oreal, the logo, the products I use, the brands I was more familiar with them. And it just sparked this excitement and interest. And I loved every minute of the internship. And then I had the privilege to meet the folks from P&G. They gave me a training on leadership. And I just met this amazing bunch of people and fell in love with all the brands and learnt the brands of Fairy and Pampers and Pantene, Head and Shoulders. And you could see I would light up. I would have ideas. I would just feel I had endless amounts of energy. And that for me was a signal. And I think I'm fascinated in people. I'm absolutely fascinated in psychology. Maybe actually wished I'd studied psychology. But now there's so many books, so many podcasts, so I feel like I've almost studied it through that. I also really, really do love marketing and all the elements, that fusion of creativity and science. So I think that's why marketing I've loved. The chemist in me, I think that's why I might love beauty, because a lot of beauty is around the incredible chemistry. It's also about how it can really help people. It can help fuel confidence. It can help with transformation. And again, that part of really helping people. And I think the emotions, I think people care about beauty and beauty evokes so much emotion. So just for a marketer, for a chemist, for a psychologist, that whole fusion and that melting pot of art and science and that fast-paced nature, I just think in beauty, it really all comes together. So I just think it all makes so much sense. And if you follow what gives you energy, it's often the things you love. And the things you love are often the things you're really good at. And you never realise it because you don't realise it comes much harder to others. I really think we spend so much time not realising our strengths. So I'm now a huge fan of the Clifton Strengths Finder. I encourage all my team to do it and to learn what actually their strengths might be. It's great profiling and a really, really useful tool. So I really wish I'd known that 20 years ago. I think I would never have questioned. I never would have questioned marketing really is your destiny and beauty is really where you belong. So
You're clearly incredibly passionate about what you do.
Yes.
Maybe saved from a career in banking or management consultancy. There is just, I'm having a bit of a weird moment because I did economics. The advice was banking or consultancy.
Yes.
I actually had a graduate job lined up in banking. Deferred it for a year, was made redundant before I'd even started.
Wow.
And was saved from a career in, probably a pretty rubbish career in banking. So there, that's by the by. But you mentioned a little while ago about positivity.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost like a charge about you being in the room. There's like a electrical charge in terms of energy and positivity. I mean, where does that come from? Has it always been there? Could you
it's such a
think
good
about
question.
the origin?
It's before I start, I do need to do a shout out to banking because my brother, who I dearly love, is a banker. And he's an incredible one. And so I think it's a wonderful profession for those who love it. So shout out to banking. I am definitely a marketer and a businesswoman at heart. So yes, I agree with you for sure. So the positivity. I've had this question. Have you learnt this? Have you learnt positivity? I really do think I was born with positivity. I do think it comes naturally, that energy, that enthusiasm. I just get so much energy from people and from achieving things together. Equally, though, there are moments when maybe I don't have so much positivity and things can get you down. And I have, through life, learnt the power of reframing. And that really gets me into a different mind space and a different way of looking at things. And maybe that's a little bit the resilience that comes through life. It comes through when tough things happen, when you break your bones. Very sadly, over 20 years ago, way too early in her life, I lost my mother. And I just think, and other things, other traumas that you have through life. And that when those tough things happen, but you manage to get through them. I really think it builds that grit, that resilience, and that ability to reframe. So I do think it's always been there. I feel very blessed. Sometimes it can be a negative, but I see it as a positive, of course, no pun intended. But I definitely think through life and the things that happen in life, maybe it starts to be encouraged and to be nurtured and to grow even more.
Thank you for sharing that, Katharine.
Okay.
And I'm really, it's great to hear. But more so, I wondered if you could just perhaps bring into life that thought about how you go about the reframe process a little bit. Just because I think people might be going through something similar when times aren't so great. How do you switch it around in your mind?
So I get out of myself, which sounds a strange phrase. I really try and think of others. And there is, no matter what is going on, really, in your life, no matter how annoying your boss might be, or a terribly difficult work situation, or a really difficult personal situation, if you stop to think for a moment, there is probably really good odds that someone, or quite a large group of people somewhere in the world, are going through something even tougher. Certainly similar, but I'm sure even tougher. And if they can do it, so can you. So that's the immediate thing I do, and that really helps. I think sharing, like trying to talk to someone else. So I love people. I get energy from people, as you can see. So I will always immediately try and go and connect with someone else. And it's not necessarily anyone and everyone, but people that give me energy. People I know, people I trust. And again, I just think a problem shared is a problem halved. And you can, before you know it, you can talk yourself out of any sort of morose moment or any glum situation. So they're probably but the biggest one, I think, is really trying to get out of yourself and really trying to think of others. I just think that's been the easiest one to do.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Love that. Yeah. If ever there was a person that saw the opportunity in the problem rather than the problem in the opportunity, then I think it'd probably be you. So let's jump fast forward to today, and joined Estée Lauder recently, and massive role, lots of challenges, I'm sure. Tell us what you're up to there.
It's still so new. Yeah. It is an incredible company, and we are as Estée Lauder companies on a journey of transformation. It's what inspired me to leap into the role. It's what's giving me energy every day. We have a new CEO. We have a new UK president who's amazing, Pernilla, and we have a new strategy, Beauty Reimagined. And we truly are reimagining beauty and everything about the company in terms of how we innovate, how we bring incredible breakthrough innovation to market, how we connect with consumers and ensure our brands and our portfolio stretch and reach more consumers and increase our consumer coverage. We are reinventing how we do marketing, which is really exciting. And so there's a lot of change. There's a lot of change, really positive change. Can be difficult change, but definitely a journey of transformation. And personally, I have an incredible role, which is a corporate role, which actually really is at the hub of looking after all of our marketing capabilities and online. So if we think media, if we think in-house creative studio, CRM, data and analytics, consumer care, online, a central team of experts who are really ensuring that we have very best practice, the very best tools, very best capabilities, in partnership with external agencies, and that we're infusing that into the brand teams so that the brands can operate at the speed of light, do incredible things and really grow and accelerate their growth as brands. The wonderful bit is being what I talk about, the engine room, like really driving the operations, ensuring things are slick, things move well. Also being that lighthouse, trying to stay ahead, trying to see where the world is going, trying to help set the trends. So it's a wonderfully diverse, incredibly fulfilling role. And we're also building as well as trying to operate at the same time. So that's also learning a new job, changing everything within the organisation, both the organisation and the business. So really, really exciting times, I have to say.
Just, sorry, Richie, use the lighthouse metaphor.
Yes.
What's your best as a lighthouse?
That's such a great, love that question. I am positive. So as a lighthouse, you have to help people be able to see what's possible. So Estée Lauder herself talked about, and as a company, we talk about the power of possibilities and putting that power of possibilities into every consumer's hands. I feel my role and me at my best is when I really see endless possibilities. I am not necessarily bogged down with process or what's not possible. It's really, really the art of seeing what is possible. It's also, though, guiding that lighthouse. It is ensuring that lighthouse has direction, because everything is possible, or anything is possible, I should say, but not everything is possible. And I think what's important is, for me, and when I'm at my best, I've really been able to identify what might be something we want to bet on, and we'll give it a try. It will be an experiment. What might be a really wonderfully shiny looking object, but is a distraction, and it's noise and it's clutter and it's not going to go anywhere. And then what are those really big bets that you just know you're not yet taking or making, but you absolutely need to? And I have the time and space to be able to set that direction, but equally all of the availability to just help coach, to offer that daily consultancy. So I think that's, I love the question. It's a tough question.
And I love the answer.
There
you go. You talk about transformation, and you're on that journey, and transforming beauty. I mean, that sounds amazing, and I'd love to get a sense from you as to maybe where do you see the industry moving towards, and particularly I've got a young daughter, and I often ponder about this and kind of go, well, what are consumers expecting today? What are the trends kind of looking like, and where do you think we're heading, particularly when I think about, over the next 10-year horizon? It's more of a personal question more than anything. I can keep an eye on my little one. But there we go.
Well, firstly, I think we have a real responsibility in the beauty industry to ensure that whilst we're reimagining beauty, we remain responsible beauty. And it's a reason I really do love Estée Lauder companies and our brands. They're very responsible in who we're targeting, what our brand's promise is, the obsession with and focus on the quality of our products, the efficacy, the safety, the ingredients. And we have always made tried and trusted products that consumers fall in love with and use over and over again, because they really, really work and they really use the very best ingredients and they are safe and they're trusted. And I really like to think that the whole beauty industry will really embrace that, and I think that's really important. What we're creating and how we're marketing it, and always do that responsibly. I think if I think of the consumers we serve, the women and men, the wellness trend is a huge trend, and I really do think that the fusion of beauty and wellness and the importance of looking after one's inner self and the health of one's skin, the longevity of one's skin, if I think of skincare, is will continue to be really important. And also the fusion, so makeup becoming, skincare-led makeup, for example, again, makeup that can really help the health of your skin. So I really see that wellness trend as a huge trend. It's a space that I really think as Estée Lauder companies, we have many brands that really play to that, already doing amazing things. I equally think that it will become even more personalized. It's one thing, again, passionate about inclusivity and diversity. And over the last 20 years, the beauty industry has become so much more diverse. But I'm passionate to make it even more diverse. And everyone's really helping people embrace and be able to have that individual beauty. And that will come through even more personalization. So I think that will be a big trend as well.
Katharine, can I just follow up on that? So me and Mark have just come from the Marketing Society Digital Day, which was absolutely fantastic. But I mean, one of the key terms, phrases, of course, in any of these conferences these days is the role of AI and how it's transforming things. And we could be remiss not to kind of go there for a second. But then sort of the linkage between sort of a world of AI and synthetic use of content, sort of intersecting with the world of being responsible. And clearly the Dove trend, for example, is one where they've come out very openly and said, well, it's always going to be very natural beauty and they're always going to use real models. And I've heard that in a few places. Pete Markey at Boots sort of says and goes to the same thing, that they'll always do the same in terms of their advertising. And I want to get a sense of, how you see the world sort of transforming, given all the world and, stuff we talk about and hear about AI and content generation versus the need for responsible marketing in these sort of industries.
Yes. AI, I wondered if we'd get through a podcast without talking
No
about
chance.
AI. So it's great. It was always going to come up, and so it should. It's really important. We all know, and it's been well discussed, it'll be one of the most transformative things, and we're absolutely embracing that. At Estée Lauder companies, we take an incredibly responsible view of AI, as you can imagine. We see it as a massive enabler of growth. I see it as being a huge enabler of productivity. We need to grow faster. We need to be able to do things at the speed of light. And AI offers a world of possibilities. Sure. But humans and human creativity, and especially in beauty, and if we're representing real men, women, humans, then there's no way you can let AI take that away or replace that. So we have already crafted, and I like to think they'll become more public, and as an industry we'll unite to have some regulations around AI, but also to have a charter around AI. How do you use AI responsibly? So we will never use AI to replace humans. We will always want to show our beauty products on the humans, and we'll want to shoot that live. So there are some things where AI definitely doesn't need to replace certain things that we do. But AI can be such a huge boost for individuals in their work and for us as an organisation. So absolutely, we are adopting AI, learning AI as we go, and using AI for many things that can really, really help identify trends, help us innovate even quicker. We have 80 years of data, of all our research data, of what consumers thought of our products. Now we can really use that to remind ourselves of what's worked, help generate new products. So there's just amazing ways we can use AI, and incredible partnerships that we have with Microsoft or with Adobe that are really, really going to help us infuse AI through the business. But absolutely, it will always be responsibly. And I think that's where human thought is really important, to think about the right way and the right approach to AI, and how you use it and where you use it, I think will be really, really important.
Yeah, it's still a lot to learn about. It's the good, bad and the ugly.
Yes.
I just reflecting on beauty for a moment, it's complicated. Why do I say that? So, this is about self-image, comparisons, dysmorphia, and all sorts of things. And many moons ago, I met a guy called Patrice Beauchamp, who was the trusted advisor on branding for the CEO of L'Oreal. He's the guy who came up with the line, because you're worth it, because I'm worth it. And what was interesting about his story was, in research groups, it was absolutely hated as a line. And it was consistently voted as one of the worst lines. People didn't like it because I don't need to be told, da-da-da-da. And yet, it was one of the most is one of the most successful lines ever. So there's a question in here somewhere. I think it's that both Estée and P&G for sure, very research-led, very systematic in analysis and so on. And then you talked about big bets as well. So just like, how do you, in this complex area, how do you judge what's the brilliance that sits just the other side of the line where the research and insight will never get you?
So we absolutely leverage data, and I agree that data can take you so far. But in beauty, which is completely the blend of art and science, you need the creativity. How do you identify that lightning in a bottle? Those just incredible.
Lovely expression.
It's a fantastic expression, and those are just creative sparks. Jo Malone always talks of creativity walks with all of us. How do you unlock that creativity? What's that moments of brilliance? And we have such an incredible group of creatives at Estée Lauder companies. We have creative in-house, and they come up with the inspiration of packaging design, of our advertising campaigns, the look and feel of our brands. And their human brilliance, I think, is combined with data. And that's how we think about, really, it's that fusion of the art and science. It's the wonderful maths and magic. It is that creativity with data. So data can really help you identify what might be a big trend. But equally, someone could spot something and just think that is, I've just got an instinct. And Estée Lauder herself had instincts, and we really want to maintain those instincts. So we talk a lot about use the data to inform your gut, use the data to help you cut through the noise, to identify those big trends, to accelerate your thinking. But never lose your instinct and your love and passion for beauty that allows you to have the courage to be bold, to go after those ideas. So I like to think we have a really gorgeous fusion of data and creativity. So yeah, I would say we hold on to that creative spirit, and definitely comes from our founder and lives on today through all of our amazing marketing and creative organisation.
I have to say, as you were describing and talking about the aid to the CEO of L'Oreal, it reminded me of something that the new CEO of Unilever talked about, which was around the role of influencers. And actually now in their future strategy moving forward, there's a clear sort of guidelines and guidance towards, using influencers in a bigger sort of way as part of the repertoire and communications. And I'm fascinated by the world of influencers and creators. I think it's a space and a place which really helps democratize and give people opportunities that they never would have had before, to have a voice as well as an income in a sustained way. And I'd love to get your thought on the world of influencers, how you see it evolving, in the world of beauty.
Well, we talked earlier about Estée being ahead of her time. So I think of her as already having trigged or realised this trend of influencers, because she would talk about, you get the product on the women's hands and they will go tell their friends. And them talking about how good your product is way more powerful than you talking about yourself. It's more authentic, it's more believable, and you spread your network. And so she had cottoned on to the idea of influencers all the way back in the 1940s. I'm a huge believer in influencers, in creators. I think I agree with you that it can be a wonderful industry and a wonderful community. And I do think that the power of being able to put your products in other people's hands and make sure you're sampling, make sure they have a chance to use them and understand your brand, but having others talk about your brand, not just the brand voice itself, or not just the ambassador that you happen to choose on television, but really having and creating a community of passionate people who really understand your brand, love your products, and can really talk about it in their own way. It can be nerve-wracking for brands. And some brands really struggle with the thought of putting their brand in the hands of others. But I do believe in trusting. I trust in your communities and trust in others to tell your brand story, and that can be really powerful. Passionate about influencers and creators, and would love to give Estée the credit for having realised how powerful they can be.
Amazing.
On the subject of influencers, but with a bit of a reframe, you as influencer personally, internally, you will have had to navigate through some sticky situations to get to where you've got to in your career. So what, maybe some top tips about how you've really had driven influence inside organisations to good effect?
I don't think of myself as a good influencer, so I'm finding the question quite funny. But in all seriousness, I do think clarity of thinking. So you really have to know what you're trying to influence and why you're trying to influence. And then you need to be able to communicate it as clearly and simply and powerfully as possible. And I found personally that if I can get my idea on a piece of paper, just one piece of paper, or into a simple sentence, but if I force myself to write it, it really clarifies my thinking. And that is something I did really learn at P&G, and something they trained me very well on. The concept of a one-pager, the concept of really sharpening your thinking via writing. And I've actually found that being really, really powerful. So I always do advise people when they come to me and they're struggling to try and influence a situation. I say, okay, have you put your idea down on paper? And quite often they might not have done. Or if they have, it's a 50-slide deck. It's not concise enough or simple enough or clear enough. So that's the first one. Really get clear on your thinking, and a tool to do it is force yourself to put it in writing or to give an elevator pitch, and really the 60 seconds an elevator takes, and rehearse it so that you're ready and you're prepared and it's authentic. So that's the first one. The second is think about who influences the person or people you're trying to influence. And maybe they're easier to get to, they're easier to persuade of your idea, and let them become your influencers, let them become your voice piece. That's a second sort of powerful tool. And the third is, if you really believe in it, never give up. Ideally, in any situation, you don't get a categoric no, never, ever over my dead body, because that's quite difficult to then overcome. But even if you get an initial no, think of it as no, not yet. Think of it as no, not quite like this, and just go away and have a rethink. Try and frame it differently. Go again. Maybe tweak the idea and give it another go. So that never give up, I have to say, is also quite powerful.
Great tips.
3 great tips. Really enjoyed those tips, actually. So writing it down.
Yes.
Find out who is influencing the person that you need to, and kind of maybe use them. And persistence is absolutely key. Brilliant. And in fact, me and Mark often talk about the second point, where we talk about it as the 1-2. In fact, Mark, when you were in HSBC, you often use the rhetoric, the judo move. And it's sort of, how are you able to navigate and think a little bit more tangentially sometimes about how you can navigate a tricky situation in a complex sort of stakeholder situation. And you always talked about judo. So there we are.
Yeah, I love the interpret no as, or the response to a no is, but in what circumstances? ... And it makes it impossible for somebody to say a flat no. Actually,
it's such a good advice.
It reminds me, in the Dumb and Dumber movie, Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Right. He goes up to what was her name? Anyway, the key star, and he goes, "Is there ever a chance that you and I, we could become an item?" And she goes, "Maybe 1 in a million." And then he goes, "There's a chance."
Yes. Now he has positivity as one of his top strengths. I'm convinced he must do.
Oh, Katharine. So I want to come on to something else, which perhaps is maybe the close cousin to what you described there, which is around leadership. Because I think this is really important. And you referred to it and alluded to it earlier. And perhaps maybe you learned your stripes and stars in P&G battlegrounds. But I'd love just to get your take on how you see yourself as a leader, and maybe some key leadership lessons that you've had over time.
So if I had to classify my leadership style, I think it would need to be high energy, deep care, and unwavering positivity, if I summed it up. And I think that's been pretty consistent, actually, from the get-go. I think that's me as a person, that's the way I lead. And maybe when I started out, it was a little bit more around, okay, self-lead. What can I do? What can I achieve? How far can we go with this team? Now, it's very much, how can I help everyone else? How can I hold them up higher? How can I spread the net wider? How can we as a company succeed? How can we as a wider organisation? And maybe my leadership's always been around growing the group, breaking down boundaries, making the team bigger, connecting teams. There's sort of no end to where my parameters go, and I do love connecting people and empowering people. I've been leading for such a long time. I must have a number of different learnings. And a few come to mind. So I think one, leadership really matters. So over time, I have really witnessed it makes such a difference.
True.
And leadership, I see as, it really helps if leaders get both concepts of leadership and management, and I do see them as slightly different. I see leading and leadership as you set the vision, you influence and engage and inspire those around you, you empower your teams. Management is around budget setting, people planning, ensuring everyone knows their role, following up, clear action steps, a bit more of the project management areas. And really effective leaders balance the two pretty well, I think, as I've experienced. And that was a lesson to me, to understand that they're two slightly distinct thoughts or two slightly distinct genres, and that it is quite important to have both. Another one is that trust is so powerful in leadership. And that is, as a leader, give automatic trust to your team. If you arrive new into a role, assume your team are great, assume they're all working in the right way, and give them trust. It will be so empowering for them, so liberating for them, and they will rise to the challenge. And in my experience, invariably, 9.5 times out of 10, that's the case. And so it's worth it, because the power that it gives to people and the energy it can give is huge. However, always remember as a leader that you are earning trust with your team every single day. And authenticity, integrity, it really, really matters. So you earn it every day. You have to walk the talk. You have to show up. You have to deliver on your commitments. You have to be available. You really have to do what you say. So for me, that's been really important, and a really great lesson that actions speak louder than words, particularly over time. You can come in, you can say all the right things, but you do need to act every single day and live up to them. And I feel that then, when your team really trust in you, that makes a huge difference, because they are there and they are, working hard and delivering brilliance, not because they feel they have to, but because they want to. And I feel it's the accelerator, it's the multiplier. I just feel it takes a good team to a great team, and it takes a good leader to a great leader. My biggest lesson, though, and one of my biggest learnings actually, and maybe one closest to my heart, is that great leaders, they're always really tough on the business. So they will always have a very critical eye on the business. They will be able to call out what's not working, and they will critique it. They will relook at it. They'll be in the details, and they'll be very, very tough on the business. But you can be really kind to your people, and you can lead with kindness. And you can lead with compassion, and you can lead with care, and you can be a great leader by leading with kindness. And in a world that's really volatile, in a world that's really uncertain, and human condition does not love uncertainty, I actually do think that now more than ever, leading with kindness is really, really important. But to really differentiate, you can be really tough on the business. You can talk the numbers, they're terrible, they're way behind, and vocalize what is really not good with the business, but be kind to the people. And kind doesn't mean accepting poor performance. Kind doesn't mean accepting a bad attitude. Kind can be very clear, give clear feedback, but always do it in a really respectful, in a really objective, and a really caring way. Yeah.
So just on the kindness thing, you will have had to make people redundant, I'm sure, do restructurings. There's a lot of it around.
Yes.
Richie, you all the time we're talking to people, more and more people in between roles. It's tough times.
Yeah.
So, and you said, you've obviously still got to have the right conversations at the right time. What's your take on the kind way to have the most difficult of conversations?
Yeah.
Because people listening in will be racking their brains about, how do I approach this in a kind way?
Be human about it. It's and just remember, it's not personal. Companies have a responsibility to their shareholders. They have a responsibility to the wider group to stay afloat. And quite a few businesses have gone and are and will continue to go bust. Not all businesses survive. And and remembering that for businesses to thrive and to survive and to be able to employ all the people they do and to provide growth and opportunity, there will come times when they do need to restructure. And that is a fact of life, and remembering that it's just one of those unfortunate facts of life, but it isn't personal. and to have the conversations with care and humanity, and accept that it's not okay, and I think just be very human about it, not robotic. And I think some people can be really nervous, and so to protect themselves from that real discomfort, they become quite robotic. And my advice is you need to go through the pain as well. So as a leader, you need to lean in. You need to lean into that discomfort, feel that discomfort, and go through that discomfort with your people, so that they can see that you are being human about it. And always remember and help then give people the confidence, because there's nothing worse than, if you're made redundant, you lose confidence. You think, I wasn't good enough. If I was good enough, I would have stayed. No, you are brilliant. You are absolutely brilliant. You will continue to be brilliant. There is always life outside the office doors. And when one door closes, another opens. And I have no doubt that people use it, and I like to think people use it as a moment to reflect on what's important and a chance to do something new. And there'll always be... I always offer my help and support, because I champion people if they're in my company. I champion them if they're out of my company. We are all on the one planet together, and we're on the same planet, whether we're in the same office or not. So that would be my advice.
There's always life beyond the office door. I love that. Really nice. We talk a lot, and we continue to talk sort of, doom and gloom, not in this conversation, but sort of outside in the ether. And I just maybe reframe that for a moment. And I wonder, what are you positive for about our industry? When you wake up in the morning and go, what's going right?
In the marketing industry and in the beauty industry and in wider industry.
The concentric circles of all three. There you are.
Love that. Love that. So I do have a positive outlook. Equally, I'm also a learner. So if there is so much going on, there is so much change, and that can feel really disconcerting, particularly for people who one of their key strengths is consistency. And if your key strength is consistency, then you really do like things to stay the same. You like stable environments. And so I can imagine with all this disruption, that's really tough. But if people can tap into or help elevate the learner, a learner in everyone. And if we think of when we come out of the womb as babies, we learn so much. And a toddler learning to walk. As humans, we have this incredible ability to learn and to adapt. And it's why we've survived as humankind for so long. So if you can tap into the learner in you, then you can embrace all the disruption, the change, the fact that maybe the jobs of tomorrow won't be the jobs of today. And you can just be excited about the opportunity that it gives you to learn. Or if you're made redundant, the opportunity to maybe try something new. So I do think, or what gives me optimism is I do think there's a learner in everyone. And if we can help everyone tap into their learner, then they'll feel more positive about all of the change and disruption. That's one. To every trend, if it's going in a direction we don't necessarily love, that could be anything around politics or just the rise of divergent points of view, there's usually an anti-trend. To every trend, when we get really concerned, there's often then an anti-trend somewhere, and which helps balance things out. So that would be my other sort of area of hope, of actually, if some of the trends we're concerned about where they're going, I feel confident, I'm hopeful that there'll be a trend to counterbalance it. One example for me would be the fast pace of beauty, that feeling of, will I ever keep up? Actually, now there's an anti-trend of slow down, be into your wellness, switch off. Yeah. So So that helps keep balance. So that gives me positivity. I genuinely think there has never been a better time to be in marketing, and I am biased, to be in beauty. I think it's very dynamic. So much is changing, which can be scary, but honestly, it offers a world of opportunities for anyone. And it's more inclusive than it's ever been. There's more diversity than there's ever has been. And so the chance for everyone and anyone to thrive, I think has never been greater. What we have to do is be choiceful. You have to understand that in a world of very limited resources, tough environment of profit pressures for all companies, you've got to reinvent how you do things, and you've got to be really choiceful about where you put your resources, your time and your energy. But if you can be choiceful, if you can adopt the learner mentality, and if you can be excited and reassured that to every trend there's often a counter trend, then I feel there's lots to be hopeful and excited about. And genuinely, I said it, within never been a better time to be, in my mind, to be in marketing and to be in beauty.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Now, lifelong learning. So I'm reading 100-Year Life.
Yes.
Neoteny. We had a conversation about this earlier, didn't we? Neotenistic tendencies, the ability to think like a child as you get older, continuous learning, curiosity, optimism and opportunity. What are you still learning? What do you still need to learn in the 100-Year Life context where you've got many more adventures to come?
Love that I talked about learner and you talked about the 100-Year Life, because I truly believe your ability to learn is what will define your success. So I'm definitely very much at the beginning of my learning journey with AI. Mm-hmm. I have so much to learn. So that's one. I also am relearning hockey. So having been an avid hockey player 25 years ago, I have just gone back to hockey. So I'm relearning hockey, partly because there's a lot of evidence that those social and high energy sports are very good for you. I felt I was doing a lot of running, which was great, the cold water, which was great, but I needed more of a more vigorous activity and more of a team activity. Also, I had forgotten how good hockey is for embracing failure. I fail every single time I get on that pitch. I miss a tackle, I haven't quite got to something. And you have to be, as Ted Lasso says, like a goldfish. Be like a goldfish and just go again, relearn, retry. So that's been wonderful as a way of getting back in. I definitely think I need to learn how to feel comfortable and confident with rethinking organisations. So not just reshaping them and evolving them, but actually really thinking about what will future roles look like. How will different jobs be? They'll be really exciting and really interesting jobs, but in 10 years' time, my job will look very, very different. And maybe some of my team's jobs will look very different. And how will they look? And over the next 10 years, how do we develop the skills in people? So I think I need to learn more about, that organisational design. I'm sure there's all sorts of other life things I need to learn as well, but I feel I need to read the 100 Years book and come back with a refined point of view on that one.
Well, we all have our homework. I've got ice baths and you've got books to read. It's on that note that I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on today. It's been a wonderful conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. We really covered so much ground. It's been an absolute delight. Thank you, Katharine.
My pleasure, my honour. A huge, huge thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been fabulous to have you on.